Hi everyone, welcome back. So it is December 15th, 2020, and I figured now is as good a time as any to start talking about my 2021 goals. In this video, I'm going to be covering my writing goals, my editing goals, my reading goals, and my self-publishing goals. So if this sounds like something that you would be interested in, go ahead and keep watching. And if you do like this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe down below. Make sure to ring that notification bell so you can make sure you see all of my new content when it comes out. All right, let's get down to my actual goals. Okay, I want to start out with writing goals. One of my first writing goals is I would like to write 2 to 3 full-length books this year. In addition to that, I want to write 2 to 3 short stories or spin-offs. I'm not putting in this requirement anything about editing. We'll get to that later. Next one I want to talk about is Amy's Rebellion. If you look at my author page, you'll notice that I have it on pre-order, so this is something that I have to get done. The pre-order is in July. I'm still going through the first read-through right now, so I'm definitely a little bit further behind than I would like to be for editing. So I'm really going to be focusing on editing for a good portion of like the first half of the year, with writing kind of being like my secondary goal because I really need to make sure I get this out on time so I don't lose my pre-order privileges because that would be bad. Next thing I have is I want to write 250,000 words. If you saw my video reacting to Milwordy, you'll know that that was one of my big goals for this year. Those are all of my writing goals. I may add or change or delete some of these, but that's the main idea of what I would like to accomplish. Next thing I want to cover is editing goals. So for editing goals, I have quite a few things. The main thing I want to do is edit Amy's Rebellion, of course, but I would also like to start and hopefully finish rewriting Spellbound, which is now called Rose is Spellbound, because at the time, I think it was the best that I could do, but I think I also could have spent more time on the editing process, so I'd really like to go back and give it more of that love and care that I didn't give it the first time. So that's like one of my really big goals. I don't really feel comfortable promoting the whole series unless I know that each book in the series is the best that it can be. So that's one of the really big things I would like to do this year. Next thing I have is edit 2 to 3 works to completion, meaning like whether it's a short story or a book, I would like to edit at least 2 things this year. So for 2020, those things that I ended up completing were War of the Twin Swords, the anthology short story which was called Moonvine, and Gabriel is Cursed. This year I'm hoping to do Amy's Rebellion, the other Japanese mythology, which is a prequel to Moonvine, and I would also like to start working on the editing for Spellbound's revamp. Okay, that's pretty much it for my editing goals, so I'm going to move on to publishing goals next. I have quite a few of these because I really want to start building my publishing stuff. The first thing I have is to get a website where people can purchase signed copies up and running. Right now, I'm just using some free websites. None of them really have the option to purchase like signed books, but I'd really like to have like a really nice, pretty website set up, which I know is going to be pricey, so I'm kind of waiting until I see the next like big sale so I can do that cheaper than normal. I would also like to hit 1,000 copies across all of my books, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering that during my first year of publishing, between all of the things that I published, I sold 216 copies. So 4 of those is Gabriel is Cursed, which just released today. 30 of those were War of the Twin Swords, and then 182 of those were Spellbound. So I would like to hit 1,000. I'm hoping to get like a BookBub deal, a BookBub featured deal, because I think that would really help me towards that goal. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Next one I want to talk about is audiobooks. So for my publishing, I would like to publish 2 more audiobooks. I was really happy with the process for War of the Twin Swords, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. I already have a narrator picked out for the first audiobook, which I want to produce, and that's going to be Gabriel is Cursed. The other audiobook I'm hoping to produce will either be Amy's Rebellion, or it will be the revamp of Spellbound, so Rose's Spellbound. Depending on what happens with timelines and everything, we'll see which one that ends up being. The next thing I want to do for publishing is I want to publish some of my Japanese mythology stories into an anthology. So I'm hoping to do that because I have one about title gems that I'd like to revamp and publish, and then I have one that's about the moon goddess and the earth goddess falling in love and it not going so well. So I want to do that one. I would also hopefully like to complete a series this year, even if it's just like a mini series of short stories. I want to do something like that, and then I want to make my first box set. Next thing I wanted to put down here was to do one of those anthologies where you do like a New York Times or USA Today bestseller run. I don't know if something like that's going to happen or if I'll have that opportunity, but if I do, I'm hoping to actually take it. I would ideally like to get into one of the ones where there's not a huge cost up front, but we'll see kind of what my options are and if I am financially able to do that, if it's financially feasible for me or not. My last thing I wanted to mention for publishing goals is I would like to hit, so this year my goal was 10% of my income to be publishing. This year I would like to bump that up to 25%. So right now my income's pretty low. It's about like 20,000 a year. So hitting 25% shouldn't be that hard, but it was pretty hard to hit that this year. And I only really did because I did some writing for hire work. So we're going to see what happens. I would love to hit that completely off of royalties. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm probably going to end up hitting my writing like financial goal based off a multitude of things, probably writing for hire a little bit and a little bit of royalties and a little bit of other things. We'll see. That's it for publishing goals. So let's move on to my reading goals. Last but not least, I have a few reading goals. This year my reading goal was 20 books. My goal for next year is to hit around 25 books. And I'm counting short stories and things like that as books. I'm not just counting like full-length books to make it a little bit easier for me because I'm not the most prolific writer or reader. So that's kind of my goal there. I would like 20% of those to be popular indie books. The main ones I'd like to look at are ones in my genre. Specifically, I would like to review Sarah Cannon's books as well. I want to read her Beautiful Demons book and hopefully actually read the entire series. I also want to read a little bit of some of the really big paranormal romance authors because I would like to at some point dabble in some paranormal romance, but that's kind of a long ways off. I would also like to see if I could find a book that has a gender fluid, bisexual main character for very specific reasons that I'm not going to state here because I don't know if my family watches my channel. And I would just like to read more diversely in general. Specifically, I really would like to read a lot more of Japanese mythology stories because I find them really interesting. But I also just in general would like to read more diversity, from more books from different cultures and not just like the same thing over and over again. And I'd like to read a little bit more enemies to lovers romance for research purposes because I'm going to be writing quite a few enemies to lovers in the future, quite a few enemies to lovers couples in the future. One of them being in the Gemstone Massacre series, actually 2 of them being in the Gemstone Massacre series. So I definitely want to do some more research on that to get an idea of like what kind of enemies to lovers I'm going to go for. Am I going to go like a little more Blood and Ash style kind of enemies to lovers, or am I going more like Poison Study-esque? So those are my main reading goals. And that's pretty much it for me. So those are my goals for 2021. But that's all I have for you today. If you liked this video, make sure to click that like button and subscribe to my channel down below. And let me know, what are your 2021 goals? All right, that's all. Thanks. Bye.